I couldn't figure out, and I've done research to death trying to really put my finger on it. Why Tampa? Why Tampa? Why did everybody pick up? Because it was a very thriving scene. I was right here, in the middle of it in Buffalo when it was all happening. Not only as a fan, but I was in college at that time and roommates with people that we knew. We knew these guys. We knew the guys from Cannibal Corpse. Right. We knew the guys from Malevolent.
Well, from an outsider, if you don't mind me telling you, one of the things that happened, and it wasn't just Tampa. It was Tampa, the Jacksonville. There's a few little areas out there. But what made Florida happen was just because it was two major things. As far as being a fan and watching it happen, I wasn't in bands quite yet. I didn't get into bands until the late 80s, early 90s. And watching it happen, there was a few things that were striking out of Florida. One was Morris Sound Studios. And the one thing that, it wasn't the fact that they had the best sounding studio in the world. They were the first studio that was able to make a kick drum cut through the mix and a band tuning down that low, and they were able to separate it. And it changed. So people didn't know how to do that in other places at that point, and they also broke bands like Sabotage.
Right.
When they got down to Jacksonville, it was kind of like Arizona at that time, even though it's way ahead of the pace. Jacksonville was a hodgepodge of people from other places.
Right.
When you go to like the hotter climates, not everybody is from Jackson, or
very transient. Yeah, very transient place. It's interesting you say Morristown Studios. I hadn't thought about it from an engineering point of view, but so that was really one of the big factors, huh? That they were just able to, much like George Martin was able to make incredible things happen with the Beatles, they were able to actually separate that lower frequency and get a kick drum to stand out. That's a very interesting point.
And it helped because the labels knew that, and it happened with a couple of small records. Like they ended up breaking bigger, but when you heard it happen with things like, and even though it's not death metal by any means, but when they first heard it happen with Sabotage, and then a few of the other bands that were labeled to start pulling out, like Obituary and things like that, even though it didn't happen until a couple of years after Cannibal hit there, but still, Metal Blade and Combat Records, and everybody heard about that and said, you know what, I want all my bands to start recording in Florida because of this guy. So bands were kind of forced to relocate there.
Was it a producer down there? I mean, was it?
Yeah, it was Scott Burns.
It was Scott Burns. I was just doing a web search, and I was going to jump in. I had written it down. I had J-Bomb sitting next to me. He looked at it, and I wrote down Rick Rubin. I said, wait, but that's not the name. It was Scott Burns. Wasn't it from Roadrunner Records, correct?
Well, in essence, there was, at the time, it was Roadrunner Road Racer.
Okay.
And it was more like the Road Racer was like the heavy side that wasn't able to get out through Roadrunner at the time. And then he also did a lot of the stuff for Metal Blade, such as, the Cannibal records. And then once, Chris Barnes left, Cannibal and went to 6 Feet Under, he did those too. Everybody just started kind of growing. But he also did bands that were like really progressive at the time, like Death, and Monstrosity and things of that nature, that really were like, wow, these guys are really crazy players. So then he started growing the sound that way, and labels were really the guys that were saying, I need you guys to go to Florida. Bands would go down there and say, wow, man, this weather ain't too bad either.
Yeah, well, especially when you're from Buffalo.
Yeah, when you're from...
At the time, it was an easy place to stay. It was an economic choice that was easier for a band to survive in. The way a lot of bands are relocated to Arizona 20 years after the fact. I mean, we're not exactly up on the par of things down here, but we are getting it. And it's the same thing. You're seeing this cycle happen.
It's interesting that you're
starting to now move to Arizona and stuff.
When you bring up, Tampa, Jacksonville, Florida, the catalyst obviously was Scott Burns and being able to record there. But like you say, once you're down there, especially if you're from Western New York, everybody retires to Florida. So once guys from Western New York are down in Florida, it's almost like you can go to parts of Tampa, Chris, where it's they have Buffalo bars, Buffalo Bills stuff on the walls. They have Buffalo food brought in. So you feel like you're home when you're in Tampa. So there really wouldn't be a reason to leave again.
Yeah, I mean, why would
you? And when you're playing out, let's say you're playing a show in December or even February, you don't have to bring out like a bottle of hot water with you to make sure your hands don't stick to the drum cages. You're loading into the van. It was made it easier for guys. Just the temperature was just a lot less than subarctic.
The more you talk, Chris, I think Steve and I are going to pack up and just move to Arizona with you right now.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take the show over.
The worst, man. They're the worst. You're more than welcome to come down here for 9 months out of the year, but stay away from July and August, man. 122 ain't pretty no matter how much humidity there is.
But it's a dry heat, Chris. It's a dry heat, like the inside of an oven.
Yeah, it's a dry heat.
And so is a blast furnace, and I ain't going to go sit in one of those anytime soon.
We're gonna take a short pause, and on the other side of the break, we're going to be bringing Alex. And Chris, can you hang out with us for a while?
Yeah, sure, man. Yeah, I can hang on for a little bit. That'd be great.
All right, great, man. Heard it on the X, folks. Stick around.